He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Okay, the U.S. Geological Survey, we were able to get on their website a few minutes ago. It's basically down right now from traffic, is confirming a 5.8 earthquake. That's very substantial. Hit Virginia and shook buildings in D.C. And Webster Tarpley lives right on the Maryland-D.C. border, and so he was able to see it out the window. A frequent InfoWars contributor. He was obviously on for about 15 minutes with us in the first hour on the Libya globalist-induced civil war. Webster, can you tell us what you witnessed there in D.C.?
Well, again, this is the Rockville to Gaithersburg area of Maryland, so a little bit north of the district line. I would say, 10 or 15 minutes ago, I became aware that the windows were rattling. The windows were shaking and rattling, and first of all, I thought it was something. We have these airplanes that sometimes fly very low over the house, and sometimes that manages to shake the windows. But then I realized it was rather more serious than that. My wife was upstairs, and apparently the shaking on the upper floor was much more severe than it was down here.
But we're all tracking it right now. But what do you make of people that are saying that the orientation of the sun's activity is driving this increased seismic activity? And the question is, if we pay Al Gore money, can he stop it?
I don't know whether this can be politicized. Again, we had an earthquake last year here. The Richter scale is logarithmic, so if you go from 3.6 to 5.8, that's 100 times bigger. This one seems to have been in central Virginia. I would say it looks like about 30 miles west of Richmond, so right in the center of Virginia. That means it's 150 miles away from here. The local television here says that the Pentagon was evacuated for a while, and maybe also other government offices. Earthquakes occur, and naturally in a time like this of crisis, they're going to be politicized, and there may be some truth to that. Naturally, we can forget about Al Gore. The recent case that I think we can point to is concerning that tsunami in Japan. There was a widespread awareness, or there was a widespread belief, let me put it this way, that this, according to some sources, that U.S. intelligence, using this HAARP system, HAARP, had somehow manufactured an earthquake in the Pacific Ocean, and that this has hit Japan, and that the political focus of that was to prevent Japan from breaking all ties with the U.S. and entering into a close strategic alliance with China. Now, whether this is true or not, I simply cannot say. I would stay away from that question. However, there was a widespread belief, and I think it's interesting that Lyndon LaRouche, that you've had on there once or twice, comes on in and says, "Oh no, it wasn't the CIA; it was the Crab Nebula." So this is going to be politicized in one direction or another.
All right, Webster. Well, we know that Secretary of Defense William Cohen, in the April 27th issue of the Army Times, they reported on a press conference. You can pull the quote up, and he said governments are working on, have developed. We know there's treaties with the UN, in the 77, to not have atmospheric manipulation and tectonic weapons.
Sure.
So reportedly, just like you can hit the side of a metal barn with a certain harmonics, and it can make the barn shake apart, or just like a certain note can be hit by an opera singer, and it can shatter crystal. I've actually seen it done. One time there was an opera singer at a dinner party in college, and they got a glass out and shattered it. It's powerful. That basically using this atmospheric manipulation, and that's what the patents from Eastman and others say in the 50s, that they can cause earthquakes on fault lines. I also found Haaretz articles where the Israelis in the last 5 years are testing high explosive charges. Basically, they drill and then they pump plastic explosive down several thousand feet, liquid plastic explosive. It hardens and they detonate it, and they've been causing little earthquakes they've been testing. So we know seismic weaponry is being tested.
Certainly.
But we know, but long before this stuff existed, we know that, just 150 years ago or so, the Mississippi changed its course when a very powerful earthquake that knocked down buildings hit. And so we know this happens naturally. There's 3 extinct volcanoes in Austin. They built a nuclear plant that no one seems to know about up off of in North Austin at the J.J. Pickle Center. It's built directly on the fault line, on the hillside from the Balcones Fault. It seems like they only build nuclear power plants on fault lines or in tsunami zones, or both is even better for them. So I really think it is a conspiracy theory to say, oh, well, this is the Russians saying we've got these toys too, because we know there's always been earthquakes in the Virginia area. But if the stuff exists and we do see a massive increase in it, who knows? But Webster, I know you'll keep track of these things. Sometimes 5.8 is a prelude, though, to something even bigger, Webster. So I hope you don't get hit by, how big was the one that hit Japan?
This was in this is the upper 8s to the 9s, I think.
I think they said 9.0 or even 9.1. So
remember, it's logarithmic. So
let's hope you don't get hit by that. Because, let's hope Godzilla doesn't come out of the sea and attack the Capitol.
Well, I think what you're saying about the earthquake, the seismic warfare, is much more realistic than the Crab Nebula. I'm not that worried about the Crab Nebula, but on the other hand, this kind of an event does occur from time to time, although this intensity is rare.
By the way, I don't want to get a fracas going here because I just have different groups on with different perspectives. I don't agree with all of your political views, and I certainly don't with LaRouche, but we have had those guys on from time to time. You are a chip off the old block. You headed up their whole European division for a long time, but since you bring up Lyndon LaRouche and them saying we're going through this galactic whatever, I get probably 500 emails a day saying, why aren't I talking about Comet Beeblebob or whatever it is supposedly coming near us in October? There's always, every 6 months, some new planet, some new thing that's going to kill us, and I'm always a government agent because I don't cover it. But and I'll be discredited in October when the comet doesn't kill us. And I don't understand how that works. There'll be